Welcome to the Women Who Change the World podcast, the place where everyday women world changers share their stories to inspire, challenge, and equip you to change your world.
The event of the year for Christian business owners is just around the corner. Handprint Legacy Live 2021 is virtual this year, which makes it super easy to attend from anywhere in the world without makeup, long flights, or expensive hotel rooms. Thursday through Saturday, June 24 to 26, we'll spend 3 powerful days mapping out your first or next most important steps for your business. I'm Katie Horner. My husband and I have grown from full-time ministry in Mexico to full-time international business owners by understanding and solving the countless marketing challenges faced by Christian entrepreneurs. We created the Handprint Legacy Live event as a safe haven where small business owners, teachers, authors, and coaches strategize, implement, and grow their business. This event is highly interactive and tickets are limited. Grab yours today before we sell out, because 3 days of Bible-based fun and marketing instruction is going to leave you with your next marketing funnel all mapped out. Register now for the 2021 event at handprintlegacylive.com.
And here we have part 2 of this wonderful interview. It had so many amazing things that to cut any out would be sad. There will be a bit of overlay from the previous episode, but that's to keep the conversation having flow and continuity. And with that, we are back.
And so I'm learning to say, now that he's willing to grow, what are your thoughts? Not, you know what? I could have told you so. I mean, look right there on page 65. I told you. I don't do that. I go back and I go, really? Tell me what your thoughts on that. How did that connect with what we just talked about? Because I'm interested. And so I did have a husband that really resisted it. But I think the key there is you keep growing, you keep praying, you keep honoring. And I believe that's how we have now gotten to the place that we're at. Not that I didn't mention it. I'll be real honest with you. I'd say, honey, what about this? Do you want, oh yeah, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not. And I said, well, I found in my own power, I can't change me. I can only be willing. Mm-hmm. The Lord makes the changes. And so I did mention that throughout this 30 years. But when he finally got to that point of wanting also to grow and to learn, I think it's very important not to throw that in their face, but to join the journey with them and say, oh, I'm so excited for you. Tell me about that. And when he comes in and he says, honey, remember that book we were reading? Yeah. Well, this is what I got out of that. I then shut up. I don't share with him what I got out of it because it's not important at that stage. But I do want to hear what he has to say. If he's willing to learn, I'm willing to listen.
I found with my husband that giving him a book to read doesn't necessarily work because he feels that he doesn't have time. And I understand that. I can understand that completely. So if I have a book that has interested me, that I think he might be interested in, I usually get it on Audible.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then he'll listen to it. And it's more likely that he'll listen to it than it was if I would have handed him a copy of the book.
Exactly. The other thing I want to add too is that we need to understand some people are learnable and some people are teachable. Now the difference is I can go to a class and I learn, you can tell me something. Hey, Debra, don't bake your bread this way, do it that way because it works better. And I go, oh yeah, that's cool. And I'll remember that, right? People that are learnable seem to have to go through the hard knocks of life to finally get to a point where they go, I shouldn't have done that. And there's a big difference. My husband is more learnable. I'm the teachable. Mm-hmm. And so within a marriage, that creates some difficulties when you both need to learn something. And so, but once we recognize that, we say things to each other, such as, now, am I going to be learnable with this or I'm going to be teachable? And we'll laugh about it. And then we pray about it. Lord, I sometimes we need to be both. So mm-hmm. Lord, are you trying to, do we need to be teachable about this thing? Or is there something you just want us to learn and go on? Just, that's it. So there is a difference. And I think as we, teach our couples, they need to be aware of that. and give each other some grace until they're more, the Lord doesn't talk about being learnable as much as he talks about being teachable. And so when we recognize that in the word, I think it's easier to learn to be teachable, and we leave the learnable behind more often than not.
That makes sense. I didn't think about it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Because you and I seem to have a lot in common. I'm a very teachable person.
Yeah.
I want to learn things. I don't want to learn things the hard way. I've got too much else going on with my life. Just
Yes.
tell me what I'm supposed to do. And I find in prayers like, okay, God, tell me exactly what I'm supposed to do so I don't mess this up.
Yes.
And I feel like he laughs at me like, yeah, right. That's not going to work that way.
I just don't like to waste time. It's like, I want to get there,
Well, I don't have time to waste. There
Yeah.
is no time to waste.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
it's a very different perspective on things, and it can make things really, really hard
Mhm.
because it seems like you're going down two different paths.
Yes.
And I have seen a lot of divorces happen because one of the spouses is growing and the other one is just like,
Mhm.
no, I'm not changing my ways. I like it. Why can't you just go back to where you were before? It made me comfortable. And the spouse who is growing is like, you are toxic to my life.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking, but
Mhm.
in some ways it makes sense.
It is heartbreaking because number one, we're to serve the Lord. Number one, we're to go to him and say, Lord, how do you want to handle this? And quit trying to figure everything out. It's okay if the other person isn't like you. They weren't meant to be you. So we've got to find things in them that we can love, that we can appreciate, that we can admire. We did before we got married, or we wouldn't have married them. So those things are still there. They do take different forms at times, but we have to come to a place, if we want a healthy, good, fun, uh, wonderful marriage, we have to come to the place, if they don't change, we've got to love them for who they are. Just love them for who they are. It's like our children. My daughter is completely different from me. Even I'm a redhead and she's brunette, she's taller. She wears size 8.5 shoes. I'm a 7, in every way, personality, she's different than I am. But I didn't divorce her as my daughter because she was different. I learned to get to know her on her level, who she became, who God created her to be. Our husbands don't have to match our expectations, and I think sometimes that's where we run into that trouble, in that sandpaper that's rubbing up against you. You go, ouch, that hurts. Well, that's okay. They can be who they are, and we can still love them. That's always a choice. I always tell people that love is a choice. It isn't about a feeling that keeps us married. It's a choice. I choose to love this person, even though they did not meet my expectations, even though I thought I had Prince Charming and I found out I had Gilligan on Gilligan's Island. It's like we have that choice to love them, to experience who they are, and maybe even come over their side and enjoy who they are. So I think we need to look at it as, there's so much more here. Lord, help me to see more about who my husband is and how I can interact and truly enjoy this person, because that is our choice.
I have a client that I've worked with who was really struggling in her marriage, and she didn't want to divorce, but it was just a really hard time.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, I'm tired of working on our marriage. I'm tired of being the only one working on it. And so what I told her to do, I said, pray about it and tell God, look, I'm not going to fight for this marriage anymore, but I'm not going to fight you in
Yeah.
keeping us together.
Mm-hmm.
And there's still a lot of problems that she deals with, But at the same time, it gave her peace in her heart and her soul that, look, I'm not going to fight you, God, but I'm not going to keep fighting for a relationship that this other person doesn't want because they only want for themselves.
It's really interesting. I also with my clients, I ask them, what is it about you that needs to change? We're always looking at the other person. We're always saying we want them to do this. We want them to grow up. We want, and whatever that means. And we want them to do all the changing. But what is it within me that if I truly allow the Lord to show me what's in me that I maybe need to change, and once that happens, that could draw this other person to me. What is it in me? Instead of always looking outward, I think we need to look inward. If we're unhappy, why am I unhappy? Because, honestly, I had a friend who said, people used to say, oh, I can't believe you married this guy. I mean, does he really make you happy? She goes, oh, girls, let me tell you, he never makes me happy. And they went, yeah, well, I thought so, because I just can't see you two married. She goes, no, wait a minute. I was already happy.
Ooh.
I was already happy way before I married him. I did not ask him to make me happy. I'm already happy. So when I share with couples, if you're unhappy, find out why you're unhappy. It's not your spouse's responsibility to make you happy. That's a non-truth, let me tell you. It's your responsibility to find your happiness, not the other person.
So let's talk about that a little more, because that's big.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I going back to what's said in a typical pre-marriage counseling.
Okay.
That's not something I heard. That's
Agreed.
not something that I heard for the majority of my marriage until in the past, since 2015. My grandma was a big part of my life and helping me with my marriage. The first fight I had, I called her and I told her, I said, he is such a jerk. You will not believe. And I go on and tell her what happens. And she said, well, honey, I don't have much advice for you, but you just hold it to his account the same way you want God to hold your sins to your account.
Oh,
I remember telling her, Grandma, I don't like you right now. And I hung up on her. Well, a couple of years ago, my sister was having trouble with her marriage. And I said, hey, do you want some of Grandma's advice? Because Grandma was gone. She said, sure. And I told her. And she said, I'm going to go stomp on Grandma's grave. That's not helpful. But we both knew it was helpful. But at the same time, we were looking for somebody to say, you're right. He was not being very nice. And she never denied it, that he wasn't being very nice at the moment. But it was more about, what are you going to do about it?
That's right. That's right.
Oh.
It's not just in our marriages. And I know this is true, Samantha. It's not so much what we say, but it's how we respond to things that our children learn.
Yes.
Our children learn how to get along with each other, that they are responsible for their own feelings. They're responsible for how their life turns out. It's not your responsibility how their life turns out. And so as we model that we take responsibility, geez, I'm not happy today about yada, yada, yada. And I need to come before you and I need to lay those things down before you, Father. Show me how to be happy in that situation, even though it seems very difficult. Where is the joy? Because the word says the joy of the Lord is my strength.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't say my joy is my strength. He said the joy of the Lord is my strength. And many times I will tell you with tears, hardly being able to get that out of my mouth, I say, Lord, I choose your joy today. I choose to be joyful. I choose to love me and to love my husband and those around me. So we get back to that same thing, that we have a choice. But I believe, once again, we have to look from within. That other person wasn't meant to be a replacement for Jesus.
Oh, wow. And that's a problem because living in a broken society and so many dysfunctional families,
Mhm.
a girl looks for that person who saves her.
Yes.
And that was a problem that I even faced because my now husband in a way did save me from a very difficult and bad situation because
Mhm.
he spoke up. He was the first person to ever publicly speak up about something that was happening.
Mhm.
And so you develop this hero mindset, and then all of a sudden he like not only falls off the horse, but he tumbles like Humpty Dumpty. And then you're wondering, what is wrong with you? You are not the person I married. And so you're expecting him to continue to save you. And
Yeah.
you're expecting him to step between you and people who are verbally assaulting and abusing you. And when they don't,
Yeah.
because in reality, he's a very quiet person,
Mhm.
it causes a serious problem. It breaks the girl.
Mhm.
It breaks the girl, and then he doesn't get the admiration that he's craving because he did it because he wants the admiration. So you have this whole huge dynamic.
Mhm.
How do you deal with that? Because I see it repeating over and over around me.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I've had uh, some of my clients say to me, I did not sign up for this. That son of a gun, he did this and that and the other. I did not sign up for this. And I said, oh, honey, but you did. You just forgot to read the fine print. We forget we signed up for everything, for better, for worse, for richer, for poor. Those words came out of most of our mouths. What we didn't do was research those before we said those and made those a part of our vows. You see, we are responsible for us. Let the Lord deal with your spouse as he's dealing with you. It just gets back to the point that I am responsible for all that I do, all that I say. And so many people want to say that, well, I did this because of. No, you made the decision based on hurt. We always tell couples, and it's even on my website where it says, I don't believe there are any bad marriages. What happens is there's hurt hearts. And out of the hurt, that's when we react and respond to certain things and think we need to be saved over and over and over again by our spouse, when in all reality, we need to dry our tears, go back to the throne of God, get up on Jesus's lap and say, how do I deal with this? My focus is off. I don't know about you, but I wear glasses because my focus isn't as good as it used to be. And when I would go to the Lord and say, Lord, my focus is off today because I see him as being this kind of person right now. And in all reality, it's because my focus is off. He's not really changed. He's still the same person I married. But see, my focus goes in and out, in and out. Oh, one day he's wonderful. Oh, one day he's what? Oh, one day he's wonderful. But in all reality, he's that same person.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to come to the point where I am willing to deal with me. I'm willing to go get on my face before the Lord and not get up till I deal with me
Mm-hmm.
in the relationship.
God and I had a lot of talks about that in 2019 and in 2020 because of my husband dealing with the grief of the loss of his mother and his grandmother.
Oh.
And I would complain. I would complain. I would complain.
Mhm.
And the only thing I would get from God about is just push him to me. Just push him to me. Just
Mhm.
push him to me. You don't worry about him. You just push him to me. So
Mhm.
when he would come to me with problems, I would be like, "Have you talked to God about that?" "No, I haven't." "Okay." So that means I just need to listen and give no commentary.
Yeah.
But then when he was done, I would say, "You really need to talk to God about that.
Mhm.
I can't change this. I can't fix this. I
Mhm.
can't make your pain go away. I can't even help you walk through your grief.
Mhm.
but I kept sending him back to God. And finally I said, God, it's not working. You better do something. I'm going to lose my mind. And I felt like he was laughing at me because like, yeah, let me talk about how many times you've done this.
Yes, yeah,
And
exactly. Yeah.
it
I,
became,
I know with my own husband, I'll say, God, you created him, you deal with him. You created him, you deal with him. And what that says to me is I really need to walk away. I really need not to say anything more. I just need to really leave it in the hands of the Lord who did create him. He knows how he functions. He knows when he's going to do something. He knows the future. I don't. And it's amazing, even just, I will tell you, in the last 2 months, we've gone through some very difficult times. And I have literally kind of put my hand up to him, to my husband, and I say, take it to the Lord. I don't have anything to say. Please don't share that with me.
mm-hmm.
And he has, so I'm saying, I don't know how to help you. And he's a talker. He wants to talk about everything. And when he's thinking about things, he doesn't just think it, he talks it. And so for me, I need to be able to share with him, I can't help you. Please don't talk to me anymore. And then he understands, oh yeah, oh yeah. I just need to go in my office. I need to go, someplace where I can have quiet time with the Lord. And it is difficult. It's difficult for us because we don't have all the answers. Not that we're supposed to, but during the time that my husband and I have walked through these last 2 months, actually almost 3 months now, the Lord has done miraculous things, because Deborah got out of the way. I quit coaching him. I quit counseling him, and I just say, I don't have the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Because I really want him to hear the answer from the Lord, not from me. And so in doing that, we now can come back. In the last few weeks have been able to come back. And what I found is we're more patient with each other. We're more understanding with each other. And what we have to share, we make it short.
It's interesting. As someone who is a coach myself, I have to balance I'm being a wife and a mom, not a coach.
Yes.
And I will actively tell my kids, okay, I'm going to coach you at this moment, not be your mom, not be your wife. But
yeah.
at first, when I was pushing him to God, I felt bad because I felt like I was neglecting him.
Mm-hmm.
Because I knew what was right and I knew what he needed to do. And he just needed to listen to me and just do what I'm telling him to do, and everything would be fine. And God's like, yeah, right. That doesn't work. So it was hard. It was hard. And God and I had that discussion for a while. And he's like, look, you can't fix him. I can. Get out of my way. And so I learned to just, like you said, get out of the way.
Yes.
And things started happening and things started changing. And the big thing is that it became, I wasn't the fixer.
Yes.
Because I'm just as broken as he is in different ways.
Yes.
So it made.
Do you remember the movie The War Room?
I haven't seen it. I own it, but I haven't seen it.
We give that to every one of our couples to watch, because it's very important that they see the process in which the main character went through in order to gain her husband back and her marriage. And I tell especially the women, watch it minimum of 5 times by yourself, 5 times. And each time you watch it, ask the Lord, what is my part? What is my part in my marriage? And journal. And it is amazing how powerful, because they get to see it. It's a visual. Most people are visual. They're not just people who can read or, that kind of thing, or just take notes and learn from. They are visual. And this is very visual in the process in which the Lord takes us through. And it's giving up. It's giving up and allowing the Lord to do what only He can do. So I highly recommend you go watch that. It's amazing.
Pull it off my shelf.
Yes.
Yeah. So, what would you say are the top 5 issues that a married couple faces?
Oh my gosh. It's really interesting how I think they deal with themselves, number one. They're dealing with themselves. They're dealing with raising children. That can be a big issue. Empty nesters. That can be a huge issue because they're like, I don't know who you are anymore. I've been so involved in the children and games and sports and college and all of those things. I also think that you hear about midlife crisis. There's a lot of people who, if you're not really grounded, they go through that. They're like, I mean, my husband took off, and this is known. I mean, I have permission to share this. He took off, left me with nothing, um, bought himself a Porsche, got himself a bimbo, bought her clothes, took her out, all kinds of things. I mean, because for whatever reason, he felt like that fulfilled him for a short time. And then he came back. So often they deal with that. There are other things, in marriage for the elderly, in that they have health issues. And there again, people say, I didn't sign up for this, which we did, but they don't want to deal with the fact that maybe their husband or their wife is having issues. They want to take care of them. So commitment, agreement, all those things, we find that people within marriages have problems with. They don't know what to do with those issues.
Oh, but good married couples never argue. They don't have problems, right?
They better, or they don't have a good communication in their marriage. Yeah.
That'll be a good thing for you to use with your clients. Yes, I talked to someone and they said they heard. Ah.
Yeah. Oh.
So you counsel married couples. Do you do the whole couple, or do you do like the wife are separate?
We get them together first. We meet together as a couple. I want to know what their needs are. I want to know what their expectations are. What do they want their marriage to look like? We want to talk about those kinds of things. What are you hoping to gain during our time together? And we take notes, and we get together. And then I want to meet with a woman. And the reason I do is we can work with the couple and think everything's going well. But honestly, we have found with experience that if we don't minister first to the woman, she could tear down everything we've done with the husband. And because often they're very, very seated problems and issues that she has that often men don't. The other thing is the fact that some couples need to be coached separately so that they feel as though they can truly share their heart with us. And so we do that, and then we bring them back together, and we work on those things. But we need to know their level of commitment, because often what we talk about, what we go through, they're very difficult things. We've had people in here talking about, my wife doesn't want to be married to me anymore because she doesn't like to be intimate. What do I do with her? I'm like, what do you do with her? You work on you first. And that's what we tell each of the couples, you work on you first. That's the first thing you need to do. Then, having done that, often the issues they felt were so important seem to kind of just go by the wayside, because they've dealt with those hurtful issues within themselves and have got healing in those areas, that all of a sudden when they come back together, they weren't such big issues after all.
Could it be because they come with so much baggage of their own from their own
Absolutely.
growing up?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some people come with women that have been raped as young children or young women, and same with men, or men come from a very devout background where the husband had the first, second, third, and fourth, and fifth, and last word. And the woman came from a home where everybody got to say everything. And it was, and they never sat at the table where the man goes, we always sit at the table and eat and blah. It's like they come from completely different worlds most of the time. And so you're having to take that and blend that and find out what's good. And so that's why I say the arguing or the talking, the communication is like, oh, but I was raised this way. Well, I don't think so. What can we do to come to bring it to a place where maybe we sit at the table 3 days a week and then the rest of the time we don't? What can you do to compromise within that issue?
And it's that's the way it was for me. We never sat at the table. We always sat in front of the TV. And my husband's family always sat at the table. So we came with a compromise of when it's family movie night, we have pizza and we sit in the living room and we watch a movie while we're eating pizza and popcorn. But the rest of the time we sit at the table. And I have found great value in it. So much so I actually wrote a book about it, talking about that transition from not eating at the table and why it's so important to eat at the table, and it's acceptance of the difference in things. And I foolishly believed, we both grew up in the same denomination of church, that we would be fine, we would have no problems, we would get along because we would. And it's like, no, it's nothing like that. But it's been a good compromise. Another one was Christmas. His family very meticulously, the youngest one opened a present, and then the next person opened a present, and it was a very long process. And my parents were just throwing things at us and were ripping things open, and it was chaos. And he hated the chaos, but I hated the other side of it. So because it was extreme. And we came to a compromise of buying less presents, and each one of the kids opens a present at the same time. So it wasn't this. Can you imagine all the presents with 7 kids? How long it would take?
Oh my goodness.
But we came to a compromise that, like, my sister-in-law was here at Christmas and she said, this is crazy, but this is our compromise of how our family works. And it's not going to make sense to everybody else.
That's true. Yes.
So you talked about dealing with all kinds of things. But when you said when you start with a married couple, what do you want from your marriage? So maybe they started on the same path of this is what I wanted this is how I saw our marriage progressing. But one of the people changed. They got a dream or they found their purpose from God. And it doesn't fit exactly into what the other spouse wants. So how do you balance that? I'm doing what God's called me to do, but it doesn't fit exactly the way you think it should be. And so there's this, I'm supposed to do what God wants me to do, but I want to help please you. There's an emotional pull there. If you don't have the life that I want, then you don't love me. So how, as a growing couple, do you deal with that?
I love the question because that we've had that. And what I share with people is, number one, you never stop growing. That doesn't mean you leave your spouse, because I know people who they left their spouse. She's holding me back and she doesn't believe like I do. And she doesn't want to go to the mission field and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, well, you're not always going to agree. Never stop learning. Never turn your back on what God has called you to do. But understand that there's a process in which God can take you through. If God's called you to the mission field, that doesn't mean you have to leave the United States. We need to and I ask them, get clarification. Lord, I believe you're calling me to the mission field. Where is that mission field? Is it at work? Is it in my church? Is it in my neighborhood? Is it in this state? Is it, within my family? Where is that mission field? Because God is going to give you a training ground. He's not just going to send you out there and say, okay, go to missions and you fly off, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's going to give you time to practice. And God is always practical. God is always ready to give you opportunity to learn and to grow and to be fruitful. If we're not fruitful first, we can't go someplace else. If we haven't learned to multiply right where we're at, he's not going to send us overseas to grow a church or grow, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so it's never about leaving the other person behind. It's just meaning that you will continue learning, continue to do what is in your scope to do.
That makes a lot of sense. I have just two more questions for you.
Okay.
And then we can be done. Do you find that couples are really looking for answers or just someone to agree with them?
Both. Oftentimes they want someone to agree with them until they start talking with us. We don't agree with either side, and we tell them that. We're not here to agree with either of you. We're here to find an answer. And then my question back to them is, what are you willing to do? What are you willing to give in order to get the marriage that you say you want?
Ooh, that is good. So this last one kind of wraps up what you do. Do you work with everyone or do you qualify the couples with like an introduction, just figuring things out? Do you just immediately start working with people or do you spend time getting to know them a little bit beforehand?
I do an introductory, about a 20-minute phone call, because I want to know what is it they're looking for, what are their beliefs, because what I coach from a biblical based perspective, and knowing that, then they can decide, yes, I think that's what I want, or no, I don't, because some people just really don't want that at all. And so I try to qualify the people. I want to know if they're teachable. Is this going to be a good fit? Are you willing to get in there and do the work? Because I don't do it for you. So I qualify the people and spend time with them so that we know it's a good fit.
That makes a lot of sense because not every person is able to work with everybody.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Debra. I would love to continue talking with you, but then when we have talked for an hour, and I always feel bad about keeping the people that I talk to for that long, but I'm going to tell you, I take notes. I take lots of notes that are just things that I need, and I am so blessed to be surrounded by great women who are using their talents. Thank you for your time. That is all we have today, guys. I will see you in the next podcast. Have a great day.
The event of the year for Christian business owners is just around the corner. Handprint Legacy Live 2021 is virtual this year, which makes it super easy to attend from anywhere in the world without makeup, long flights, or expensive hotel rooms. Thursday through Saturday, June 24 to 26, we'll spend 3 powerful days mapping out your first or next most important steps for your business. I'm Katie Horner. My husband and I have grown from full-time ministry in Mexico to full-time international business owners by understanding and solving the countless marketing challenges faced by Christian entrepreneurs. We created the Handprint Legacy Live event as a safe haven where small business owners, teachers, authors, and coaches strategize, implement, and grow their business. This event is highly interactive and tickets are limited. Grab yours today before we sell out, because 3 days of Bible-based fun and marketing instruction is going to leave you with your next marketing funnel all mapped out. Register now for the 2021 event at handprintlegacylive.com.